Mark Zuckerberg was on Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday where he revealed that the FBI reached out to Facebook to give them a heads up to be ready to censor some major Russian disinformation that was about to be posted, referring to Hunter Biden's laptop and the emails, which were all real, of course, showing that Hunter and old Joe were colluding to cash in on their corrupt dealings in Ukraine and in China.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York
we
Post.
have that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. The distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it. You could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful.
I love his Orwellian explanation for how they didn't censor the story like Twitter did. You were allowed to post a link on your Facebook page, and it might show up in the feeds of 2 or 3 of the people who follow you, and if one of them wanted to share it, they could click the share button, and it might show up in another 2 or 3 people's feeds because, well, as he admitted, they suppressed it by using their algorithms. Of course, they don't just do this with specific links to stories that they're trying to suppress. They also do it with general posts that contain only text about stories or ideas that they're trying to suppress. I have, I guess, what you would call a professional Facebook page for businesses and public figures, and it has an analytics section which shows how many impressions each post gets and how many engagements, comments, and how many shares. And I can always tell when a post has been suppressed because it drops way down below the average engagement. Like this one from yesterday, highlighting how NBC News had to issue a correction after they blamed a white police officer for pulling a gun on a black woman, when it turned out that the officer was actually half black himself. The media keeps trying to blame white people for all of the problems in America, but they keep stumbling over their fake news when the facts come out, so those have to be suppressed. And I don't know if you noticed this, but the liberal media rarely, if ever, capitalizes the word white when talking about white people. But ever since the George Floyd riots of 2020, they made it a point to capitalize the B in black people. During his interview with Joe Rogan, Mark Zuckerberg touted Facebook's independent third-party fact-checkers who decided that the Hunter Biden laptop story was supposedly fake news when, of course, it was real, because we know how fraudulent the fact-checkers are. I did a whole video titled Fact-Checking the Fact-Checkers, in case you missed it, and my favorite fact check was when Facebook claimed that I posted fake news for pointing out the obvious, that there was no social distancing at the funeral for Congressman John Lewis in the middle of the COVID pandemic. Actually, this one's probably better when the all-knowing fact checkers declared that CNN had not doctored the video of Joe Rogan in order to make him look more sickly when he announced that he had come down with the coronavirus. There was no evidence that any manipulation was done to the video that Joe had uploaded on Instagram whatsoever. And let's not forget that the deep state intelligence operatives, the heads of the alphabet agencies, the CIA, NSA, FBI, all lied about the Hunter Biden laptop story, claiming that it was Russian disinformation, when in fact they were the ones spreading the disinformation. Meanwhile, the only thing that CNN or MSNBC talk about anytime I turn on either of those channels, no matter what day it is, no matter what time it is, day or night, is the FBI raid on President Trump's home, where they had to go and rescue the supposed nuclear secrets that he stole. And many of you have asked, and thankfully they're finally here. So order your Nuclear MAGA shirt from my online store at markdice.com, or click the link in the description below. Like all of my designs, they're available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.
Tactical nuclear weapons that somebody was planning to sell to some nasty people around the world.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.